I'm live. Yay. Hello there, YouTube. How you guys doing? I am back with another one of my videos for this month. And today's topic is going to be the foundations of magic. And we're going to talk about that in relation to demonolatry. Because I think that's one thing that is seriously lacking in today's modern occult students. A lot of people, they want to get into demonolatry, especially demonolatry magic, and they just want to hit the ground running. They don't want to have to stop and do all of the work that we had to do back in the day before the internet, where we had to practice and study for at least a year and a day. That's not just a traditional witchcraft thing. That does tend to go over into other traditions as well, where you had to go through a course of study before you were initiated, before you actually started invoking demons, before you started doing any of that, because there is some foundational knowledge that everyone needs before they can be effective magicians. So if you're just into the whole spiritual thing, that's fine. You don't need a foundation in magical practice, obviously. But if you are looking to go a little further and you want to actually practice magic in conjunction with your demonolatry practice, that is a totally different thing. Because we're talking about, at that point, learning things like correspondences and learning the meditation and the energy work, and starting there and learning how to walk before you can run. So a lot of people don't realize that that's actually a thing. And that's where you end up getting, like, when beginners come along and they jump in without having that foundational knowledge. That's why you're getting questions all the time about, well, what demon should I work with for this? And how do I do this? And how do I do that? It's because they don't have that foundational knowledge to draw from to figure those things out for themselves. And some people just don't even want to do a Google search. If you can, like, answer a question through a Google search, do that first, because everybody who, like, already knows this stuff, you know, they kind of get tired of, like, getting the same questions over and over again. Like, oh, which demon do I work with for love or whatever? It's like, you know, you can totally Google that. You guys are lucky. You live in an age where it's all of the, so much information is right there at your fingertips. Back in the day, we didn't have that. We had to, like, get off our butts, get in the car, drive to the friggin' library, and then go through and search the card catalog and go through books to find the information we wanted. And if we couldn't find the information, then we had to find a different library with maybe a bigger selection of books and go do that. Or you had to find somebody who knew that information and call them on the phone and then maybe meet with them for coffee or whatever to actually discuss the topic. There was none of this, you know, oh, just sit down in your chair in front of your television and type it into a computer and boom, there's all your information. So you guys, like, be thankful that you live in the world that we live in right now. It is so much easier. So when we're talking about the foundations of magical practice, that is all Western magic has foundation. Okay. And I don't care what tradition you're practicing, there is foundation through all of it. Planetary correspondences do not change. Okay. Color correspondences do not change. Herbal correspondences do not change. Elemental correspondences do not change. All of these things are pretty set throughout all of Western magic. So learning all of these basics, where it all comes from and how it all connects together, and learning that ahead of time is going to save you a lot of work and heartache later on down the road. So that's part of it. Learning correspondences and how things come together and how they all fit together, because demons have correspondences that are elemental, that are planetary. They have certain plants and everything that also correspond with those planets and those elements, and right on down the line. It all usually meshes up pretty well together. When it doesn't, then you have to stop and think outside the box of, okay, so why are they using this herb here and and when it's fire and this demon is air, and then you kind of start seeing maybe that demon has like an aspect that's fiery part of air, and you have to decide, is that what you want to work with for the purpose that you want to work with? When we're talking about purposes, those are all correspondence driven. Okay. All of that. So once you learn all those correspondences, you'll be able to like figure out which demons work well with what pretty easily. It's actually quite simple once you get that down. The other part, though, is learning the meditation, is going through and doing the meditation work. And people really hate the meditation work. Nobody wants to do meditation. And I never understood that. That is being able to focus and being able to visualize and being able to sit silently with yourself for long periods of time is a prerequisite for magic. You have to be able to do all of those things. And that's why meditation practice is always pushed on you. And I don't care which tradition you're in, people will push that meditation on you. Another thing that is very fundamental and basic is energy work. Learning how to feel the energy off of things, learning how to manipulate your own energy, learning how to keep your energy to yourself, learning how to expand it, learning how to use it for psychic self-defense, learning how to use it to reach out and pull in intuitive stimuli or whatnot. All of these things are very basic. And through meditation and energy work, you can also learn discernment, which is another one of those fundamental foundational basics that everybody needs to know. And a lot of times this does take more than a year. They say, practice a year and a day. That's just to make sure you're not, that a specific path is right for you. Instead of just jumping paths. You've all met them, the path hoppers who 1 week they're Muslim, and then the next week they're Wicca, and then the next week they're a Satru, and then the next week they've decided that they're ceremonial magicians, and then the week after that they're Christians. We've all met those people. That's another reason for the year and a day thing. You don't want people initiating into something if they're not absolutely sure that this is like a path for them. So consider that before you start wanting to jump into dedication rites and initiations and all of that. Make sure that it is really 100% what you want. Because otherwise, you're just dabbling at that point and you're not taking it seriously. Initiation is a very serious thing. It's not something that should be taken so lightly that you're just kind of like, oh, I initiate. Oh, you know what? That's not good enough. I'm going to go, practice Celtic magic over here. I'm going to become a druid or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of flaky if you ask me. So anyway, for those of you who are interested in the foundations of magic, there is going to be a class all September long. It's a 30-day class. There are 3 teachers. It is going to be an intensive 30-day foundations of magic class to give you some of the basic knowledge and tools to improve your magic. So if you do not know a lot of this stuff, or you need maybe some work in these areas, it's a great class to take. You can actually find it if you go to Daemonolatry.org and you find the menu item, Shop the Emporium, and then go down to classes and click that. The information's all there. And let's see. Okay, so we have questions. I know there's probably a lot more I could cover on this topic, but seriously, it's such a vast topic that I can only kind of go over, what people need to know in general. Because otherwise I would be here for weeks. That's why we decided to teach a class. So, hi guys. It's great to see everybody. Oh, we've got all sorts of people here today. Sophia, Sherry, Neo, Abara, and let's see, Troll, and I think that's everybody. It's good to see you guys. Right? Sherry's like, yeah, I remember. We have the Google now. I know, isn't that great? You don't have to drive like 30 minutes to the best library with all the books. And then even then you get there and someone may have checked them out. Except for some of the reference sections, there was like certain areas, like things you couldn't check out. So you had to go to the library to get it. So and then sit at the table and take notes because you couldn't check it out. So, hi, Synchronous. And Spencer. I think Spencer's been here. I don't know. So yeah, it's crazy. So for those of us who are like older, yeah, the internet is a great thing. It saves us a lot of time, a lot of legwork time. It's not only that, but like, you know, first you have to go through the card catalog. Then you got to go to the shelf and hope that the book is there. And then you have to find the book. And if it's out of order, then you're just like, what the hell? Or if, you know, if it's on a cart somewhere and you don't know where it is because it's one of those don't check out books. I don't know. Right. Ancient, where's my walker? Hey, you know what? As much as I hate to say that, we're a lot closer to walkers than we'd like to admit. I mean, I'm not quite at 50 yet, but I'm kind of speeding down that hill toward it. So I'm getting there. I'm still pretty young. Okay. But hi, Mia. Thank you. At least you don't hug them when you sleep. Yeah, that's good. My cat sleeps on my books. Whenever I have them sitting somewhere, she'll just lay on them. Oh, see, there you go. Sherry's got the cane. Hopefully there's like a knife in there too. So I'm kidding. I really like knives. It's a thing. It's a thing. So anyway, does anyone have any questions? I know this is kind of a brief video. We're only at like 11 minutes and 43 seconds here. I suppose I could literally go on and on about the foundations of magical practice. The problem is like I said, it's such a vast topic, and there's so many specific areas that I could hone in on and just have hours of material. We could talk for hours about this stuff. So you gotta love cats. Cats are always awesome. They make great companions. Sorry, I'm reading through the comments here. I don't mean to be just sitting here. I have a frog in my throat today. This weather keeps changing. It's cold, it's hot, it's cold, it's hot. It's driving me crazy. There you go. You almost have to carry some sort of weapon with you. I know that sounds terrible. I carry a tactical knife and some mace. You just don't know. Well, the best way to reach demons in Rituals Foundation, it's like you really need, before you start your summoning, invocation, evocation, whatever you want to call it, before you begin that process, you need to have the skills of meditation, and you need to have the skills of energy work, and you need to understand all the correspondences. So all those things you pull into ritual, whether it's for psychodrama or not, it all needs to mesh somehow with the purpose of the ritual and with the aspect of the demon that you're trying to work with. So it all needs to correspond. And the great thing about that is most, I would say pretty much all of Western magic, it's all the same foundation. It's got the same foundation. It's just different application. So let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. There are some cats that are like that. I had a cat like that years ago. And she was wonderful. Synchronous, I collect knives too. One of these days, I think I have a video on here that like shows part of my knife collection. It has grown since then. Perhaps one of these days I'll do another video on that. So let's see. Knives. If there is no standard, are there several? And how do you orient the one situated to you? Well, I mean, theoretically, there is a standard, though. That's what I'm saying is there is a foundation that underlies all of Western magical practice. And that includes ceremonial magic. It includes witchcraft, traditional witchcraft. It includes Wicca. It includes a good number of just basic types of magic, like Enochian, Daemonolatry, Satanism. It goes through all of that. It is a basic underlying foundation. Now, there are a lot of people who are chaos magicians, but they won't admit that they're chaos magicians. And they'll say, oh, well, you know, for me, green is fire. And then they make it so. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with chaos magic. But I am one of those people who believes you need to know the rules first before you start breaking them. So that way you can break them in meaningful ways. So it's best to know the rules and then to break them, so you know what you're doing. And not just because you're just doing whatever you want and calling it, you know, calling it traditional demonolatry, for example. You can't do that. Well, you can, but, you know, all of us older people will just kind of look at you funny and go, okay, do what you want. You have fun with yourself. Go for it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you're a chaos magician, more power to you. I'm a chaos magician. But I knew the rules before I started breaking them. That's the difference. Okay, so does it require a guide, or can we do it alone? You mean learning the foundation? Oh, learning the foundation you can do alone. You got to start, though, by reading a lot of the books that came from the very beginning, that are some of the foundational books of the Western magical tradition. And that includes Agrippa, Eliphas Levi. There's a few others. Excuse me. Franz Bardon is actually really good for learning some basic stuff. So his books are like really dry reading, and you literally work through them, but they are awesome if you can get through them. I'm also a fan of William G. Gray's Kabbalistic Concepts, Living the Tree. If you're into Kabbalah and you're into, you know, the whole clip-off type thing, because in my opinion, and, you know, if not everyone's going to agree with me on this, Kabbalah and the clip-off and the Tree of Life, it's just the same thing. It's just different aspects. You know what I'm saying? You just have to, it's the dark side of the tree, which as a demonolator, I'm like, there is no dark, there's no light, there's no black, there's no white. Everything's a shade of gray. I don't like putting things into neat black and white little boxes, because that's not how the world works. Okay, so let's see. How do I feel about using a scrying mirror for ritual? If you are a natural clairvoyant, then a scrying mirror is great. If you're not a clairvoyant, it's kind of worthless. So it's entirely up to you and what your particular gifts are. If scrying mirrors, if you do have the gift of clairvoyance, it's only going to work, first of all, if you have that foundation of meditation and energy work. Just like any kind of divination, you have to have those two foundational things before you can start expanding your mind and opening up your intuition and allowing, putting down your floodgates to allow all of that information come to you. And to get good at interpreting it, that takes time too. It's another foundational skill that a lot of people, some people are really good with their intuition and they're able to correctly interpret it like immediately. Other people, it takes a little work, especially if they're unsure of themselves, you know. So you have to kind of be careful there. So let's see. Let's see what else. Oh, we're still talking about weapons. I love talking about weapons. I have a few mace as well. I have mace. I have a lot of swords. I collect swords. I've got my daggers. I think I have a spear and an axe or two. So yeah, I have weapons all over my house. I was at one point turning my living room into an armory, and then I kind of ran out of wall space. So I suppose I probably could find more wall space, but we don't want to go there. I don't think my husband would be too thrilled about that. He's one of those people who everything has to be like aligned, and like he'll like, you know, get the level and measure out everything from top to bottom and side to side, and everything has to be like perfectly centered. And so, I mean, for most of us, it's like, yeah, that looks good. Tink, tink, tink. And then we put the picture or whatever on the wall. He will not do that. So it takes us like 3 times as long to get pictures and stuff hung on the wall. For like the first 5 years we lived here, we didn't have anything on the walls because, you know, he had to think about it and just kind of like plan it out. It was fun. Oh, sorry. Okay. Let's see. Oh, neophyte. I can't pick just 3 of the most important occult books from the 20th century. I do have a list though, so hold on a minute. Let me see if I can find the list. You guys can like sit here and watch me find my list. Frank made it up for me and put it in my email so he could email it to people, because we share my inbox, so he can deal with all of that for me. No, that's not the one. Oh, yes, foundational reading list. There it is. Okie dokie. So here is maybe a first foundational reading list. I'm going to go ahead and post it right here in the comments. And you know what? I'll put it in the video description too for everybody else. Oh, I've got too many. Hold on. Wait a minute. So it's not going to be a very good, is it right? Oh, no, no, no. Hold on. Gotta fix this. Let's try that. Yes, there we go. And see if I can do that. Oh, 29 words over. I gotta take, let's take these two and cut those and stick that there. There you go. All right, so go ahead and copy those down. Let's see. I want to see. I'm probably missing a few people. Yeah, Tears of Letha. I'm just going to call you Letha, or Tears. No, I'm not going to call you Tears. Yeah, that is the hard part about starting as a chaos magician. You start realizing that it's very difficult to understand why people are working with certain things for certain things if you don't know that foundation. It's kind of like, what the heck? So that's why, you know, even if you read like books about Wicca for like elemental magic or something like that, that's still good foundational material. I know that sounds crazy, but because a lot of people, you know, oh, not Wicca, you know, but Wicca today is like totally nothing like the Wicca of the 80s. Ask anybody here in the list who's been here for like a long time, and we will tell you like Wicca before like I'd say like 1988 or 87 was actually kind of badass. I mean, it was definitely not what it is today. It wasn't all, you know, feminism, like overly feminism, man-hating, and fluffy. It wasn't nearly as nice. You could still curse people in Wicca back in the day, because, you know, there's more than those 8 words to the Wiccan read. It's not just as long as a harm none, do what thou wilt, or whatever. It was actually like, if somebody attacks you, curse their ass. Yeah, you could totally, in self-defense, you could curse to your heart's content if somebody was fucking with you. So remember that when you're tempted to go, oh, the Wiccans are all a bunch of fluffy bunnies. Yeah, they weren't back in the day. That's a relatively new thing. Kind of like offerings, demonic offerings, like this pelting demons with offerings all the time now. That is like a really new thing. That's been brought over from other traditions like Palo and Santeria and Voodoo and all of that, because in those traditions you pay spirits for what you want from them. You pay the spirits and then they give you something. It's kind of like, I'm your employer, here's your paycheck, go do this for me. That's their view of it. Well, that is starting to filter into demonolatry, and that is like the weirdest thing ever for me, because that's not how I was brought into the tradition. So let's see. Okay. I got to get back to the questions. I'm sorry. Okay. So Mia, question would be about the clip-off and walking the spheres. I think I've done 2, but how do you know if you have and if you're done with it? Well, first, Mia, one of the things is with the tree, that's just path working. And I don't think you ever finish path working throughout your entire life. You can work the tree, go through it several times, many times in your lifetime. One of the best books that I've found on that particular subject is Lon Milo DuQuette's Chicken Kabbalah. Read that. It actually really helps make sense of all of it. And it's the same thing with the clip off, like I said. That's the same thing. It's just the night side. I don't distinguish between those things. It's the same concepts, you know, same concepts, same Sephiroth, and just different demonic, angelic names, whatever you want to stick in there. Each man's tree is his own, and that is a very true statement. But you will probably never be done working through the spheres. You'll go through one time for one thing and then go back down. Because like going from the tree from the bottom up is a study in the divine. And if you start at the top and you go down, it's the study in your ability to control all that is divine or find the divine within yourself. So it's kind of interesting how that works. You could just do nothing but Kabbalah the rest of your life and completely be busy with magical work, with high magical work. So, synchronous. Alphas Levi says, use imagination till you are nearly crazy, then you're there. Yes, there you go. Meditation goes a long ways. Without it, we can be fumbling in the dark. I agree with that. I have a daily meditation practice, and I recommend that for everybody. If you can do like a daily meditation practice, even if it's just 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, it's better than nothing. And you will notice a difference. You will totally notice a difference. If I have a lot to get done, I'll spend my meditation time focusing on the things that need to get done, as well as any spiritual work that I'm doing. And I find I get more done during the day if I do my meditation first. With meditation on focusing on this is what I'm going to get done. So I usually do about 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night, if I'm able to, because it's crazy. I feel like stressed without it. Too stressed. I'm too high strung for my own good. Okay, let's see. Energy related basic ritual work. What would be the next step in your opinion? So once you become more proficient with meditation, energy manipulation, and basic ritual work, and you've learned some discernment, that is learning to actually tell a demon from a tethered human spirit from some other type of nefarious spirit or whatever. When you know the differences between demons and even demon types, because I believe there are different types of demons, once you learn that, then I would say, you know what, it's probably safe for you to start doing invocation. And I don't want to say safe. I just want to say you're going to get more out of it. You're going to have better success with it. And especially with like magical work, you're going to get, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, like, while you're learning this stuff, you shouldn't try ritual or you shouldn't practice magic. It's just that you may not notice things manifesting the way that you want them to until you become really proficient at these very basic skills. So, because I'm certainly not saying under no circumstances do anything until you've learned these basics. There are some traditions and some teachers out there who will insist that you're proficient before you do anything. But that's not how the real world works. People will jump right into it. I know this. I've written books where I have like chapters of stuff before the rituals, and people just skip all that stuff and go straight to the rituals. That's just human nature. We want to jump to the good stuff. We don't want to have to do all the work beforehand or read what comes before. None of the warnings or anything. Oh no. We're all like that, especially in the beginning. We all do it. I've done it. Been there. Okay, let's see. Oh, we got so many comments. Mia, well, thank you. I appreciate that. The complete book of Daemonolatry is like going to be getting a facelift. That book was written back in 2006. Actually, it was an extended version of modern Daemonolatry, and it has so much revision that needs to get done because here's the thing, like when you're dealing with magical books, if you notice, like so many spirits have different, like 4 or 5 different spellings of their names. I was very indiscriminate when I was typing those in there. So, you know, Belphegor would be this way in one spot and this way in another. I'm going to have editors going through to come down to like one standard spelling just to make it easier. And then like maybe have like a section where it's like, okay, could also be all of these spellings. Because I was indiscriminate. I just kind of threw them in there. That was one of my first books that I ever did. So if there are like spelling errors and all of that, I do apologize, because I was using beta readers instead of actual editors. But it is getting a facelift. I'm hoping that by 2025 we'll have like a second edition out, and it might be extended. I might be adding a bunch of stuff to it. So Synchronous wants to know about ends. Here's the thing about ends, and any magical language or invocation or anything like that. You can even apply this to the names of God, which predate Christianity, by the way, just so you know. Christianity is pretty much just a mishmash of all the religions before it, with some new shit thrown in, you know, like some creative, crazy shit. Personally, I wouldn't put any stock into that crap, okay? So, of course, it's up to you. I'm not telling you how to think. That's your job. You got that. So, ends. They're meant to be sung, vibrated, chanted, not just said. You have to like intone them. You have to like actually feel the end when you say it. You have to have the intent behind the words when you invoke. I believe they're called ends because they draw the substance of a demonic force to you. They are sounds and vibrations that draw the essence of that particular demonic force to you. And I think the term ends comes from alchemy, because in alchemy, the essence of a plant or a stone or whatever is often called the ends. So it's just my theory. I don't know. There's no, like, I have not found any documentation to support that, but it's just a little too close and it makes a little too much sense because they kind of have the same definition. So something to think about. Okay, next. Letha, now Wiccans fear anything even close to Luciferian ideology. Yes, I know Wiccans have gotten like really weird. I know some old school Wiccans, and it drives them nuts when people like just kind of look at them like, oh, you're a Wiccan, and they're like, yeah, we weren't like that before. there was actually a balance. They venerated both the male and the female equally. It wasn't all just goddess worship, and it was none of that that feminist revisionist history. And it's not that I'm not a feminist. I am all for women being equal and having, you know, equal rights, equal pay, yada yada yada. I mean, by that definition, I am a feminist. However, I don't think that women need to reclaim our power by knocking men down either. Because let's face it, both sexes are necessary in our physical world for procreation. And when it comes down to it, we're all just people. We have the same, I mean, maybe our instincts like throw us into certain areas, like women nest, men hunt, that sort of thing. But beyond that, I mean, we all still have emotions, you know? We all still have the same basic needs. So I don't, because that's sexism, because Wicca has become like sexism toward men at this point in a lot of ways. And it didn't used to be like that. And it's very unfortunate that it's gone that way. Here, how it was in the witchcraft occult communities before the online occulture. Oh yeah. Before 92. Right, exactly. It's really interesting. Like back in the day, when you wanted to find people to practice with, you actually had to find, like you'd have to get like your local, I don't know what you want to call it, like artistic newspaper or whatever, or find newsletters, and it would often be in the ads in the back, like next to like, you know, the sex partners wanted kind of ads. You'd be able to find stuff like that. Here in Denver, that newspaper was Westward. Even back then, that was where, if you were looking for occulty stuff, you would find like the ads for the occult shops and all of that there. Mail order magic supplies, you would get like stapled. You would get stapled copies, like a I don't know, like a little bit of a ream of a paper, like 20 pages, stapled on the corner with a list of all the stuff they had. And the copies were often terrible. It's not like the laser printing that we have nowadays. It wasn't clear and everything. As a matter of fact, I might even have some of that around here. I should like, look, hold on a minute. I'll show you some old stuff. It might amuse you if I can find it. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. And if you had like a local like occult shop, you would have to go to, are you freaking kidding me? You would have to go to like, you'd have to go to their bulletin board and you could find people to meet, or you could take a class or something like that. So here is one of the old Circle magazines. Okay, so for those of you who know, Circle Network News was basically a publication back in the day. This is spring 1986. Okay, so here you go. It was paper clipped in the corner. It cost $3 for this. $3, guys, for this little thing. And look at the pagan deities. So like they'd have these articles, and it was like, I mean, this is old school. What else do I have here? Oh my gosh. What? Notice of class forming. Introduction to witchcraft classes. I have a flyer here. And when was this done? Hold on. 1987. 1987, you would go and like get like, they'd have these flyers on the counter at the local occult store, and you'd go grab it and just take them home with you. And they passed out, you know, you take a class or something and they'd pass out like little, not even stapled, like just folded pieces of paper that are like little booklets. This one is the Wheel of the Year. And this is probably from that same time period. 1984 is when that was printed up. So yeah, I've been at this a while. I don't know that I have like any, I had a book or an actual, at one point I had an actual catalog from a mail order place. And it was just like that. It was just like that. And then they had everything listed. So yeah. Okay. So let me go back to where we were. So I mean that there are so much, let's see, let's go back. Okay. So that's, you know, I mean, there are a lot of things that are totally different about the occulture back before the internet. It wasn't so easy to just like get in and call yourself, you know, a witch or a pagan or anything like that. You actually, most people, if you were doing it, you were doing it alone, and you were like following books that you either checked out of the library or that you found at your local Barnes and Noble, or not Barnes and Noble. What was it back then? It was Walden Books. Yeah, Walden Books, and there was another one, B.B. Dalton maybe. So you don't see those around much anymore. Let's see. No. So it was kind of one of those things that you went and interviewed for a group in person, and then you had to take classes in person, and then you had to decide. And those classes, like they'd spread them out for a year, so you could like, because the year in a day, you got to practice a year in a day before you were able to initiate. And then once you initiated, then you could call yourself whatever. So I think all of the legwork it took weeded out a lot of the people who were just dabbling. Because at that point, if you were really serious, you would look for a group locally. And sometimes if you lived in the middle of nowhere, there was nobody. So luckily I did not live in the middle of nowhere. And my path happened to cross with the paths of others who were working with demons. So, let's see. So yeah, there are so many things we could talk about, how different it is from now to then, or from then to now, rather. Let's see. Oh, hi, Michael. Good to see you. Let's see. I agree. Aleister Crowley's Magic in Theory and Practice is actually pretty good. I like you got to read kind of across traditions sometimes to kind of get a full, I don't know, just a full sampling of what's out there too sometimes. Because I mean, for most of us, when we create our personal path and we're working with it, we draw from many sources to create our own unique philosophy and our own unique magical practice. And that's, I don't think I've ever met two magicians who believe exactly the same thing. Even if they're from the same tradition, or they're even in the same temple or the same coven or whatever. Everybody has slightly differing views, and that's okay. That is one of the wonderful things about being human, is you are a unique individual. Regardless, nobody fits in with everybody else 100%. That's just how it is. How to discern demons. Now that's a topic in and of itself. Let's see. Let's look at what other topics we have coming up. Oh, next month we're talking about making pacts. And okay, so we're talking about discernment in May and June. Because in May we're talking about, will demons lie and why? And of course that requires discernment as well. And we are talking discernment in June. Like, that's the entire topic for the video in June. So I'm not going to talk about that today for that. Yeah, I know. Barry, I'm the same way. I tend to jump into the water and hope I swim. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I need a little help to get out. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there like that. They just jump in and hope that they swim, or that somebody saves them if they don't, or that they can save themselves. Neophyte says, Mastering Witchcraft and the Projection of the Astral Body. Mastering Witchcraft is a fantastic book. Paul Hewson, I don't know him personally, but he is very traditional. Very, very traditional. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say he's definitely a Daemonolator. I don't know, excuse me, if he has the same view on that terminology. People, they like certain labels and they don't like others. So, and Mia is saying sometimes the demons themselves will come and do things before you're ready and know the foundational stuff. That's true. Sometimes they will come in and say, okay, you know what, you're working on this now. And then you're just kind of led into a different direction. And that does happen. You just got to be careful, though, with discernment, because a lot of people, it's funny how their demons always agree with them and hate the same people they hate, and, never find fault with them. Yeah, if your demons are doing that, that's probably yourself. That's just your inner voice. Demons aren't petty like humans. They don't behave like a bunch of jealous, insecure, because they're not. They're not jealous, insecure, physical beings. They don't pick sides in magical wars oftentimes. They don't, nobody wins the demon in the divorce when you break up with your coven. That stuff's kind of ridiculous. So when you're communicating with demons, if they're like, oh, I like chocolate. Yeah, okay, no. That's not a demon. Or if they're like, oh yeah, she's a bitch, let's curse her. Not a demon. Or they tell you, oh, you're perfect and you do everything 100% right. You're just so special. Yeah, not a demon. Just saying. But we'll talk about that during discernment. There's a lot there that where people don't understand. And as far as demon agendas, here's the thing about agendas. Demons aren't motivated by the same things humans are. They're not motivated by power and status and winning mates and all of those things. They're not. They are. It's in their nature to do what's in their nature. Their agenda is driven by their nature. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, I want to like put these two people together so they can give birth to the Antichrist. Okay. That stuff does not happen. Or they're not going to go, oh, I want you to, eat this ice cream right now or whatever. It's kind of crazy. And they don't go possessing people willy-nilly just to, cuss and masturbate and act like a bunch of asses. Like Christianity would have you believe. That's not how they work. But alrighty then. Their agenda tends to align with what it is in their nature to do. And it's not personal, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like when a mountain lion sees a small child and then eats it because the parents weren't paying attention to where that child was, and they're all walking around in the forest. It's in that mountain lion's nature to eat the child. It's not like it did it like, oh, I'm going to eat that child just to upset those parents and ruin their lives. It's not that kind of an agenda. It's kind of like, oh, I'm hungry. Look, there's a child. Easy pickings. So, okay. By visit, I mean I was showering and kind of had a channeling happen. That sometimes does happen. If you're, you could be driving, you could be showering, you could be doing whatever, and all of a sudden have that demonic voice pop into your head and say, hey, look over here, pay attention to this, do this. That does happen. But again, discernment is really important in that. Okay. Ends do draw them. You're probably right. It's the vibration of the words. If you vibrate the words and you have the intent, the proper intent behind them, it does. It'll change the energy in a room if you do it right. If you ever want to do say a meditation, Lucifer is a good one to do this with. Sit down and either vibrate, sing, or chant Lucifer's N, and just feel how the energy in the room changes. And then just kind of, immerse yourself in that energy, and you'll get a really good feel for how he feels, what that energy source is like, and how it melds with your own, how it makes you feel. And so there's a lot of ways you can do that. Okay, let's see. Previous session. Oh, thanks, Sherry. Yeah, I do try to keep things very clear. There was a journalism professor back when I was in college who said, if you can't explain something clearly in as few words as possible, you don't know your subject well enough to be writing about it. And I've always taken that to heart. So I've always tried to. That's why my books are often short. That's why the titles accurately reflect what's inside the book. For the most part, I think there's a few where I have some different titles that may not be exactly what people are expecting. Drawing Down Belial is one of them. But yeah, I do try to be very concise, very to the point, and very descriptive, because otherwise I'm just wasting words. I've never been a fan of the flowery prose books where it's just pages and pages of metaphors and similes, and it's That's worthless to me. So I write the kind of books that I wish that I'd had when I first started out. So, okay. Let's see. Mia, you're right. Balance is very important in magic. That's one of the reasons in traditional demonolatry, anytime you say anything, one of your friends is going to say, oh, you should do an elemental balancing ritual. Like everything, like no matter what your problem is, someone is going to tell you, you should do an elemental balancing ritual. Because that's just the way like the traditional demonolatry mindset is. You need to be balanced. You got to stay balanced. So it's kind of funny. It just kind of reminds me, like your grandmother. Oh, well, you should just, sit down and do a thing or whatever, and you'll feel better. Or here, eat this chicken soup, whatever. It's kind of the same thing with traditional demonolators. They do that a lot. It's kind of funny. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. If I do miss you, I'm sorry. It's just that there's like a lot of comments here. And it's kind of hard to like keep track. And most of these videos have been like question answers at the end, but I think it's probably a good thing. That's what I like about the whole live experience is I can actually talk to you guys in real time and be able to answer questions. So, oh gosh, I'm still like way behind here. Hold on a minute. Synchronous. Yes. The Rosicrucian Order, a Mork. I've been kind of with them for a while. For years now, actually, I guess. And they have some really good exercises, some really good meditations, especially. I really like their meditations. And I kind of picked up the whole habit of doing healing light meditations for people on Thursdays. So like I love people sending names and everything, and I'll do a whole like ritual for them on Thursdays. So. And that's today. So I usually do it around 8 o'clock at night. So, let's see. Oh, Rick says, I don't need to be possessed by a demon to cuss and masturbate. Believe me. I think most of us don't. I think so. Have you ever like seen those videos? Like they'll show like amazing exorcism caught on television or whatever, and it's like one of those like reality documentaries or whatever. And I watched one with my husband once, and there's this guy, he's like a middle-aged guy, like just sitting there on his couch going, fuck, god damn it, motherfucker. And like that was like the whole thing. Like this whole like 1 hour show, and we were just laughing. We're just like, really? I do that on a regular basis. I guess that means I'm possessed. That's so crazy. Alicia is asking how one can show respect to demons. You know what? A willingness to learn and a willingness to practice and to work on yourself and to commit to manifesting your own will. That is like really respectful. And obviously you don't want to command them or say, do this, or I'm going to burn your sigil, or I'm going to call the names of God. Don't treat them like your servants. Treat them more like a teacher. You might treat a teacher or a friend. That's how you respect them. That is like the highest form of respect right there. And for those of you who may not know, the word worship does not mean groveling before and begging your masters to throw you a bone. That's not what worship is. That's maybe the Christian definition of worship. The whole we are not worthy thing. But worship actually means to hold something in high regard and to respect it. That's all that means. It's kind of like sacrifice doesn't necessarily mean killing babies and small animals. It means to make something sacred. So just think about that. When you think about like words and how they're used, words have meanings, and we have dictionaries that tell us what these words mean. So anyway, let's see. Beginning demons to connect with. I have found that Ashtaroth and Lucifer and even Belial and possibly even Leviathan, if you kind of go with those, within those four, I would say they're usually very easy-going demons to start working with, just to, kind of get used to it. But then every time I say that, someone comes back to me and says, that demon kicked my ass. So I don't know. I mean, it depends, because different people have different vibrational energy. And if a demon either complements that or works well in harmony with that, or it's completely in opposition. And that's where you get like feelings of like fear or aggression. And it's not really that the demon's aggressive or is like trying to scare the crap out of you. It's that it's just triggering that within you. That's where a lot of people get like really confused. Again, this comes with the discernment thing. A lot of people get confused and think they're having sex with demons and they're having sexual intercourse with demons. And the reality is some demons' vibrations actually just it actually just triggers a sexual response in you. So you have to learn to know the difference, because let's face it, demons don't need sex. They're not physical beings. They don't have, I mean, if they're going to have a relationship with you, it's going to be deeply emotional. There's not going to be any physical component to that. There are some demons, though, that will trigger that sexual response in certain people. Not everybody, just certain people. And so a lot of people will misinterpret that. And that's where you get all the God marriages, like, oh, I'm married to Hecate. Oh, I'm married to Loki. I'm married to, I'm Lucifer's bride. If I had like $20 for every bride of every demon that I've ever met, I would be a rich, rich woman. So anyway, yes. Okay. Crimson Angel. Yes. There are a lot of videos. I have a lot of years of videos here. I just haven't been consistent with posting in the last few years. So that's what I'm trying to do this year, is at least one video a month. So that's why I created the series that I'm doing now. Amanda, yeah, exactly. Tourette's is not possession. That's a lot of people. I think what it comes down to is a lot of these Christians, when they say they're possessed, they are repressed. Their religion like completely oppresses them in a way that they repress their sexuality, they repress their anger. So when they finally start coming out and saying fuck and masturbating, you repress something like that long enough, you're going to develop like an unhealthy obsession with it. So that's why you get like all these, family values, politicians and everything. Oh, I'm wholesome and good and everything. And you find out, they're really gay and doing blow in a cheap hotel room somewhere. It's because they've repressed it so much because of their religion that it manifests in other ways, and maybe in unhealthier obsessions like, the doing blow. So, okay. Okay, let's see. Where else? Where are we? I find Visago eager to help beginners as well. Yeah, Visago's not too bad. But again, like I said, like for the most part, it really depends on the person. Because like every time I say that, I say, oh, work with Belial or whatever. They'll come back and they'll be like, I had the worst experience ever. And I'm just like, sorry. Didn't mean to give you bad advice. It's just that most people don't have that problem. So, okay. So like there's lots of suggestions here in the comments. So if you're looking for a good starter demon, so to speak, there you are. Okay. Okay, so there's that. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this video because we're almost at an hour. It was really great to talk to all of you guys. If I missed anybody's questions, I'm so sorry. But, join me again next month, and I can look real quick at my schedule and see when that video is supposed to go live. Yes, I have a schedule. If I didn't have a schedule, I would be so in trouble. So we're looking at April 25th is when I'm going to be doing the next video. And what did I say the next video was going to be about? It is pacts. We're going to talk about pacts and the trend of pacting. Not that it's like a new trend or anything, but I've noticed people tend to throw pacts for every reason. That's one of those things that it used to be back in the day. I'm just going to say this right now. It used to be back in the day. You didn't throw a pact at every little problem. You save that stuff for the big things. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. I will see you guys next month. And until then, catch me on my S. Conley Facebook page, which is where I usually hang out and post all my memes. Or if you are interested in the classes, go to Daemonolatry.org and over to the what is it? What page is it? It's Shop the Emporium, and then go to classes, and you'll see like all the classes we're offering this year. And if you have any questions, you can email me about those. But I will see you guys later, and have a great. Neophyte says before you go. Thanks, you guys. I'm glad these videos are, I don't know, hopefully helpful, engaging, interesting, thought-provoking. What am I currently working on book-wise? Oh, I've been working on too many things, and that's part of the problem. Book-wise, I have been working on, I've got a book about Leviathan that I'm working on right now, which is basically, it's about working with the demiurge. So there's kind of that. And then I have a book about my magical models that I'm slowly working on. And I'm still working on the preeminent curse because it wasn't right and there was something missing. And I think I've found what's missing, and now I just have to work that in there. Problem is I'm only doing about 200 words at a time on each book. And so it's coming along really slowly right now. Some of these books are only going to be available through my, as a matter of fact, there are some books that are only available if you're on my newsletter. And I'm doing that just because I want to make sure, I don't know, there's some stuff I just, don't feel comfortable releasing to the general public. So I'm just saving it for people who might actually, really be interested in it. So it's not just a curiosity that somebody picks up randomly. So it's slow going there. I have every intention of releasing at least one thing this year. I'm just not sure what it is yet. So I don't really work on deadlines because I work on inspiration and what I'm working on. And what a lot of people don't realize is some of these books that I work on actually take years of work, because I have to test things out. I have to do the experiments. I have to decide what's working best, what isn't. And that's the stuff I include in the books. So anyway, if that helps. Let me see. Okay. Well, great, guys. I will talk to you next month. And again, connect with me in whichever way, works for you or whatever, or I will see you again next month.